Welcome to Love, Life, and Energy. Today, I was really called to talk about the exact steps for manifesting, but it's going to give you a deeper insight onto exactly what steps you need to do, what exercises you actually need to do, and how to actually make it all happen for yourself. Because I see a lot of misinformation, or you're just going to be like this, you're going to just do this, and then there's no real steps in between to get you from A to B. So, this is what this episode is going to be about. So, you're going to love this. Make sure you stick around. Welcome to Love, Life, and Energy. I'm Michelle Chung, and this podcast is your go-to sanctuary for personal growth, designed for busy, career-driven women who are ready to embrace their highest potential and not settle for an average, ordinary life. Let's grow and manifest your dream life together. Okay, cool. So I was today just thinking, what's my next episode I'm going to record? And I downloaded an insight that I needed to be more specific on the manifestation process. And manifestation itself, the word is, some people call it woo, some people call it like, oh, all that stuff. And the masculine in us wants to put it down, wants to put it in the bag of too hard or doesn't work or it's not for me or this is not true. This is not real. It doesn't work. It's not based on science, right? So there's that part. And for those of you who are watching this are probably in that in that mindset of I want to see what manifesting does. I've probably already been doing it in my life already, and it's sometimes worked and sometimes hasn't, or you've known a friend who's manifested love and they've met their ideal partner, or you've manifested your dream job or career or things like that, right? So I like to say that manifesting is like gravity. It's there. You can go ahead and use it to your advantage if you choose to, or you can just be ignorant and just go about your life. And this is what we call a very 3D way of living, right? So there's all this stuff out there that we don't quite know how to explain with science. And I'd like to introduce the idea of quantum physics. Now, I know this might seem like a stretch and it may seem, what the hell are you talking about? You're talking about love and energy, and why are you talking about quantum physics? This is the exact same response even my brother gave me. Good old older brother. I started talking about, I'm interested in quantum physics, quantum science, quantum theory, quantum mechanics, or whatever you choose to call it. He laughed at me. Of course, as older brother does, right? He didn't quite understand what I meant from this, but manifesting is under the science that we call quantum physics. So this is actually, and if you can really get this concept, this is going to make all the difference for you for your manifesting. So the way a lot of coaches are teaching manifesting out there, it's the how-tos, right? And then there's a different deeper level of, yeah, but how do I do that how to? And then you get in this spiral of, but how do I do this? How do I let go of this? How do I imagine and raise my vibration? So I'm going to go through all that in a minute. But the first thing I want you to understand and really get this concept, and this is super important. If you get this concept, everything, like the whole journey of manifesting and this how-tos are going to be so much easier for you. Okay, so that's why I want to introduce this, the idea, the revelation of quantum physics, quantum science. So let's backtrack it a bit and go a bit more into the scientific side. So there are many great scientists like Albert Einstein. I think Schrödinger was one of them. I won't name them all. I'm actually studying this book on the quantum revelation by Paul Levy, and it details how many great, brilliant scientific minds, physicists, have tried to understand what is this quantum world, right? And it's basically this, and a lot of the scientific community downplays the quantum and goes, no, that's all BS, it doesn't work or whatever. But there's so much in our world out there that we can't explain. I've always been a believer of just because you can't prove it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I'm a very big believer that there is something out there that is there to serve us, universe, God, spirituality, whatever you call it, that is meant to be helping us. There are definitely universal laws like the law of polarity, law of rhythm, law of sacrifice, all these really cool universal laws that are there to serve us. Just like manifesting, if we know how to use them, we know the principles of it, then we can actually apply it into our lives. This could really greatly make our lives so much easier. So back to the physicists, right? So we had these amazing, great physicists who were starting to come upon this idea of what is this quantum world? And what they identified in the very short, simplest form was that we can, like when they ran scientific experiments, they tried to run what was called objective studies. So they would run a scientific experiment and observe and see, okay, what are the results? And then do those results multiple times, right? They try to make it a very carefully measured, very tight system so that you could prove or disprove a theory and make sure that it adheres to certain rules. What these physicists did not include for, and this is what Einstein and some of these quantum physicists did recognize, was that you can run these experiments and you can get a certain result, and the result should be the same every time. But what they didn't account for, and what Einstein and the other quantum physicists did account for, was that who is the one observing these scientific experiments? This actually has an impact on the experiment itself. This is the basis of the quantum theory. And if you can get this concept, like I said, this is going to be a game changer for you. So this idea that these scientific experiments have to be held in a vacuum, like they're separate and away from us. They are to be held in a very dry, mathematical, A equals B, A plus B must equal C, those kind of scientific experiments, very left-brained and logical. Now, there comes this, I guess, this query where, just to break aside for a moment, that this idea if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Okay, this is a very abstract example of this. And there have been scientific experiments where the viewer or the experiment was to actually influence the experiment based on the observer, the scientist or the viewer. There was an experiment, I should have researched his name before I started this podcast, but I think it was a Japanese scientist, Masaru Emoto or something. He discovered that when you have molecules of water, that you are actually able to imprint these molecules with emotions. This to me was like groundbreaking. How he discovered this was he actually froze the water and he was able to see under a microscope what these molecules of water actually looked like. And when imprinted with emotions of hate, of love, of anger, of varying different emotions, I'm not sure exactly what the experiment entailed, but the frozen particles of water, the molecules actually looked different based on the emotions that were imprinted into the water. So this is one such experiment that shows that the one who was observing or is hosting the experiment has an influence and an impact on the result. So when we talk about the law of cause and effect, or the theory or idea of cause and effect, something happens to enable something else to happen, and it's like a flow on. A butterfly flaps its wings and it changes many different things around the world, right? This is like a cause and effect, where it's the idea that something that we do or something that happens in the world affects us all. Now, this is the concept to really get and really understand. And if you're interested, please do study more about quantum theory, because it's really fascinating. The idea is that you as a person are one with the universe. Okay, this is one of the concepts, and that you have an impact on other parts of the universe. So like these experiments of you, the one being the experiment, say your life, you're running experiments in your life by living your life daily, right? So you as a person have an impact on your own little universe, your own world, your reality, your neighborhood, your home, even your body, as an example of being an external part of your environment. And you being a soul or a spiritual being, right? Your body is external of your spiritual soul. So this idea of the quantum is to really grasp the concept that you are actually in control of the results of your world and the world around us. And you make an impact around the people. You make an impact on the environment. We've been doing that already. We're changing the landscapes of our environments. We definitely make an impact on the things around us. With that in mind, and fully embodying this idea that you as a person, a spiritual being in a human body, absolutely has an effect on your environment. Now, if you can own that and you can take absolute responsibility, that is complete self-accountability of this concept, you will really grasp manifesting. Okay. So a lot of the times why manifesting doesn't work is because people haven't fully grasped and embodied this concept. Now, this idea of the quantum, it expands much more. I'm a little bit into the book, but this is the main gist of this quantum world, that you as the observer or the person in your world have an effect on your exterior and your external world, right? And so what is it that changes your external world? It's you. And what is really, you are a spiritual being in the human body. And so your spiritual self, let's say, is inside your body, or contained within your physical human flesh, right? So if you were to impact the world and it's cause and effect, and you're constantly creating the same effects because you are the cause, then what is it really that's changing your external environment? And it's you. So what is it that needs to change in this equation to change the external world? It's you. And only you can change yourself. You can't change other people. We've probably tried that, right? How many times have we tried to fix a relationship or fix the other person, trying to make them mold into us, right? That doesn't happen. They have to be wanting to do that for themselves. So this idea of the quantum is you taking absolute responsibility for your actions, but you taking absolute responsibility for your own internal journey. This is really what can help you move the needle with your manifesting journey. Okay, I hope I've explained that clearly. If you need to ask any questions, just put them in the comments and I'll try to get to them. If you can really grasp this concept that you are one with the universe, that person at work who's really annoying and tries to annoy you, or your parents, or you can't quite get along with them, or anything like that. If you start to see the world in a quantum lens, you put on those glasses of, this is my quantum glasses and this is now how I see the world, you'll recognize, because we are all one, relationships will improve because you'll start to recognize empathy and kindness and generosity, because you'll realize that person is actually me. Unless you treat yourself really harshly, and you'll probably treat other people really harshly, or maybe you'll treat them better than you treat yourself. But if you're treating yourself in that harsh way, you're treating those other people in that way as well, to a degree. You may not recognize it and you're like, I always put everyone else ahead of me. But do you see how that works? And if you can really get this concept, this can really make your manifesting journey so much faster. This is what we call the quantum leap. When you get these concepts in your mind and you embody them, that's your quantum leap. So one of the students in my program currently that I'm running, she's asking, how can we quantum leap into that version of us, the higher self, that already has everything that we want, the love, the life, wealth, health, whatever, right? And I said, you're already doing it. As soon as you commit to this process, as soon as you commit to raising your vibration, to shifting your identity to that of your higher self, you've already started the journey, right? It may be, you may take 2 steps back because you're like doubting yourself and you're like, I'm really worried about leaving my comfort zone behind. And what is this new uncertainty, this new different world, or this new different self? What's going to happen? So that's all part of the journey. And I'll detail a little bit about that in our steps forward. But this quantum theory, this quantum mechanics, don't make it out to be a really, in your mind, oh, it's a really hard topic and I'm not a scientist, I failed at science at school and I'm not good at maths and things like that. Don't put that in your mind that it is this really hard topic, because this is really where the world is moving towards. This is really where humanity is going as we raise ourselves in consciousness. This is actually what is happening. This is us leaving that 3D idea behind, that we're separated from everyone, that we need to do things in a certain way to fit in a little box in society. We need to do what's expected of us. We need to do things that are hard. Making money is hard. Love is hard. So those are all those 3D concepts that we can leave behind if we so choose. And that is what is raising our consciousness. That is what actually happening. I don't know if it's just 2025, but man, a lot of stuff has happened to me as well, where there's been a lot of shifting. And I've seen a lot of my clients in this phase as well, shifting in that consciousness, raising that consciousness, letting go of things that don't serve them. Okay, so this is super, super powerful. Okay, so now the next part of this episode that I wanted to share with you is really the how-to steps of manifesting love. So now we're talking about part of that quantum journey is the manifestation process. So it's actually making things happen. To manifest is actually just to bring into reality, bringing from our thoughts and our feelings into our physical world. That's all manifesting really means. So how do you make from inside here and in here to your outside world? How do you make that shift? So a lot of people will say you need to embody that feeling, you need to say affirmations, you need to repeat all that stuff to yourself. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that works, because that is just trying to force something on with willpower, and that's not what willpower is meant for. You need to have a complete identity shift. And so in my programs, that's what I do. I help you have that complete identity shift, and we're going to go through that right now. I'm going to give you those steps to have that identity shift from single woman who's maybe searching or always like seeking or always dating or chasing or even just given up, right? From that identity to the identity of someone who has the love already, who has the relationship and is embodying her higher self. Okay. The first step for your manifesting process, it's to know this stuff about the quantum. So that's what I've already explained. So knowing about love and relationships, understanding the principles of manifesting, understanding the universal principles. I highly recommend, and this is on my book list inside my program, some of these books that I talk about. Letting Go, The Pathway to Surrender from David Hawkins, an amazing book, because one of your first steps needs to be letting go of that old identity, all those emotions that don't serve you anymore, and practical steps as well as understanding the concept of actually letting go, what it does to you, what it does to your body, how it creates illnesses as well. Very big on connecting your health, your wealth, love all together. It's a very holistic system. Although I just talk about love, I'm very much of the belief that we need to have all our bases covered in order to have love. You need to have health. You're not going to be attracting anyone if you're not feeling your best self. And there's parts of you that are like, your face is like really upset and your skin is not great because all these emotions are still trying to come out. And wealth as well. You need to have your prosperity and your grounding. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it definitely buys time. And you need to have time so you can have space to work on yourself, to have freedom, to have the ability to relax and be able to align with your higher self and not just say yes to things that don't serve you just for money. Some other books that I highly recommend, The Kabbalion. That's what I wanted to actually get to. The Kabbalion is an amazing book. No one knows who wrote it. It's a bit of an older book, but it's in my program if you want to read it. It's about those universal principles that are the truth. It's about learning, what I'd like to say is, instead of solving a problem, I believe every solution to a problem creates another problem. And I know because I used to be an industrial designer. I used to design what I now call landfill. I used to design products that would solve every little problem. Vitamin C, like face creams to fix those wrinkles. None of that stuff works. I can tell you that as a designer, because I used to design them. I used to write the product descriptions and marketing, all that kind of stuff. Those are all fix-it material 3D solutions that are sold to you because we're still so much in that 3D world, and that sells, right? So if you're understanding these universal principles that actually move the needle, that's going to be a game changer for you. And that's what I was doing at the start of this podcast episode about the quantum, but there is many more. Okay. So that's one of the steps, to understand what is real in the world, what is the truth, and what are lies. Honestly, if it's not the truth, it's a lie. They're all illusions. And we have to understand that our five senses give us this perceived reality, and to be curious that maybe there's a different reality. Maybe there's something else for you. And absolutely there is. There's multiple versions of you out there that you can step into at any time. That's what we call timeline jumping. That's what we call quantum leaping. And you're able to do that at any time you want. But that belief in yourself and that belief that capacity is out there for you has to be in your mindset first. Okay. And then you're able to go through all these steps. So that first step is understanding all this. That second step is also to release. So that book that I mentioned, Letting Go, amazing book. It's going to let go of a lot of things that don't serve you. We need to create space, just like the law of sacrifice that I've spoken about in previous episodes, is to let go of things that don't serve you, that lower vibration or that vibration that doesn't serve you anymore. Clear the space in order to be able to receive a higher vibration or things that do serve you. Sacrificing one thing to have another thing of higher value. Okay. So that's some of those mindset and principles of that first part of manifesting. We also take into account the masculine and feminine. That's another universal principle, the law of gender. So we have to understand this outward movement, that external, with the internal work. So we do a lot of external work. We go to the gym, we go to our jobs, we figure out how to make money and cover our rent and all these amazing things. And there's also that internal process, that feminine energy as well, that we need to be focusing on. And if you're watching this episode, then you're definitely on your journey, being curious, understanding and trying to receive, being in our feminine energy in order to receive. And another thing that a lot of students tend to ask is, how can I raise my vibration? How can I be in that state of manifesting where you feel good, that you embody it? And you can't cheat this part. You can't lie to yourself and go, I feel good, and force yourself. It doesn't work like that, right? You can't fake it till you make it. So one of the first things you need to do is have that imagination of that idea of where you want to be in your life, what feels good for you, really understanding those things that excite you, the direction you want to go in your life, the types of things you want to manifest and embody. And one of those major steps to raise your vibration is firstly the vibration of courage. So we're going up in levels, and this is also in that book, Letting Go, that we need to go from a state of perhaps survival, where you feel like I'm struggling with everything. How can I get to love and joy and peace? That's a huge jump. So we're going from levels of under 200 to like vibration levels of 700, 800. It's too big a jump, right? So there's that line, that tipping point, and that tipping point is the vibration of courage first. We need to have courage to step out of our comfort zone. We need to be able to have that absolute responsibility that I just mentioned, that self-accountability. That takes courage. It takes courage to step out of your normal life and go, I don't want that anymore. I'm going to get divorced. I'm going to get separated. I'm going to move overseas. I'm going to take on a different industry in my career. It takes a lot of courage. So that's one of your first steps in raising your vibration. Okay. I talk a lot more about that in my online program, how to raise that feminine vibration so you can attract your soulmate from that higher vibration. Because what happens if you're attracting your soulmate from the vibration of scarcity, of lack, of neediness, of codependency, of avoiding loneliness? That's the vibration that you're going to receive as well. And that's why a lot of people who are in this vibration are on dating apps. And you don't tend to find people of high vibe on these apps because they're like, oh man, these people are not on my energy level. I don't want to be here. I'm out. So that's why you don't see a lot of quality high vibe people on any of these apps. You may even pay for dating apps that are more expensive. I've done it myself, thinking they're going to be high vibe people if they've got money, and if they can pay for these apps, they're not just tire kickers. Not necessarily true. And I did not find my soulmate on a dating app that I paid for. Okay. Another thing that you need to really do this work on are your values. So as you grow in your life, your values are probably going to change as well. So take everything with lightness and fun. Like really feel called to be talking about lightness, fun, this feminine energy of playfulness, right? So when you're looking at your core values, look at those things as well. My core values that attracted my partner were personal development, spirituality, entrepreneurship. So these are things that I'm really passionate about. And that's how I attracted my partner. Now, you may have different values of kindness, generosity, family values, and looking through that lens, you'll start to filter the wrong people out who don't fit that. If you're a very family oriented person and you say, oh, I'm going to go hang out with my family this weekend, and the potential partner says, no, we're going to go raving with friends out in the forest or doing some other things, that there's not going to be an alignment there, right? There's going to be the way you spend your time is going to be really crucial, the way you want to spend it with your partner. Now, you may not do every single thing together in your relationship. I certainly don't. Raf and I have very different hobbies, and I absolutely believe we should have different hobbies. Don't try to meet your partner with the same hobbies. Meet your partner with your core values in mind. So Raf also has those values of spirituality, personal growth. He's an executive coach. He works with companies and individuals to help them close the gap and align their lives to their true purpose. It's pretty much what I'm doing as well. At the end of the day, we're doing very similar work, and that's why we've come together. So that's a really important part when you are looking to attract your partner. Make sure you're embodying your core values as well. Because I embodied my core values, I ended up running a book club that was about, hey, it was called Personal Growth and Spirituality Book Club. Very imaginative, but it got the job done. I had amazing people coming in every week. There was a waiting list of people wanting to join the book club. And my partner came. Raf came to one of the sessions. And as soon as I saw him and met him, I knew that he was the one. It was that inner knowing that I'm naturally gifted with. And we are all naturally gifted with this knowing. It's also uncovering that ability to just know for yourself and not be doubting and in that lower vibration of like just doubting yourself and worrying. Okay. So another step in that first part of manifesting love is to actually model what you want on real situations. So have some role models. Some of the best ways that we learn, especially as children, but we still do it as adults, is to model our lives on people who've had success in those areas. So this is a really excellent one as well. It's a really quick, let's say, I don't want to say hack, but it's a really good exercise to do for yourself as well, to understand who are those people out there. Maybe they're not in your life, and maybe that's why you're not feeling like you have the ability to have a relationship like this, because you can't even see it in your own life. You don't see that it's real, that it's actually accessible for you. Do some work where you go and find some role models that you really look up to and you love their kind of relationship. Maybe it's a celebrity that has that type of relationship that you want, where they're both successful, but they both have very much their own lives. Maybe it's something like that for you. So that's a really great exercise to do for yourself so you can get really clear. In this way, you'll recognize that somebody out there already has what you want. So it is possible, and it's possible for you. Okay, so one of those things that some of my clients and students have held them back was that feeling and belief, this really strong belief that there is no one out there for them, that maybe this lifetime they're meant to be alone, right? So remember, as we come back to the quantum, there are multiple versions of you. There are, infinite, I don't even know, where there are versions of you that have this relationship or that relationship or no relationship or whatever. But it's up to you. So then again, that's accountability. It's up to you to own that responsibility, to envision yourself in one of those multiple lives and go, yeah, I want that one. That's that self-confidence, that self-accountability that has you say, yes, I'm going to go for that particular life. And don't get perfectionist about it. It's not about being perfect and about getting it right. And I know a lot of my high achieving women out and my students out there who are trying to get this right. This is not one of those processes that you get right. It's about playfulness, having fun. This is the feminine journey. Okay, cool. So the next part of your manifesting journey it's that being able to release. So I did mention it briefly, but this is where you really deep dive. Okay, this is where we need to understand those things around love that made us the way we are, these beliefs that we've had from childhood that they probably don't serve you anymore. If this is the reality that you're getting, you've got a set of beliefs that don't serve you anymore. We've got to clear those out. So one of the popular processes that I use with my clients is a process called Psych K. So that's one of the processes that I use one-on-one, which helps someone release that subconscious program, potentially any traumas, any stresses that feel stuck in your body or in your mind, or you keep replaying and ruminating over and over. I use a process called Psych K to help you release those and then input a new goal, which is the next step. And I'll talk about that in a sec. But you can absolutely do this for yourself as well. It's that letting go process. It's acknowledging awareness process that there's stuff out in your past that doesn't serve you anymore. So weeding out that garden, like I like to say, weeding out that garden so you have a clean, empty space. We start to make that soil fertile again by improving the quality of our thoughts. This is starting to shift our identity towards the identity of the woman who has what we want in our life. So this is that next step. There's also something that I have identified that was a huge blocker for me, and it was resistance. So one of I guess it was a podcast and it was a mentor, and he said, when you're not getting what you want, you're resisting something. And I turned that into an exercise because what I did in that process gave me a huge breakthrough. It made me recognize there was something literally blocking me in my mind that was so stuck. And the reason for it was protecting you. A lot of this self-sabotage is for protection. So we have a lot of mechanisms that do protect us, but then they keep us stuck, right? So it's our job to own those protection mechanisms and consciously let them go. So that was a big one. So that resistance exercise is basically asking yourself, what is it that you need to know? What is it that you need to let go of? And when you're asking yourself these kind of questions, and my partner Raf will always say, the quality of your decision making leads to the quality of your life. And so the quality of the questions that you ask yourself lead to amazing decisions that can be made on a very different level. So when you're asking yourself different questions, this is going to lead to some amazing breakthroughs. So that's what that resistance exercise is about. Asking yourself these high quality questions that has you thinking deeper below the surface level of your automatic responses that you already know. So it needs to be something that you don't already know, and you don't know what you don't know. That's why you need to ask these quality level questions. And you keep asking these questions until the first level will be probably your conscious mind, or be the self-sabotage part. It'll be the automatic responses that you give to everyone else that may ask you. But when you're asking yourself these questions, keep going deeper. Stay with it. Stay with it. That's what I did. Stay with it until you get to the bottom level, like that onion that you peel, and then you're really into those deeper levels of really the root cause of what's blocking you. And you'll know when you've hit upon that. You'll probably cry like my clients do. You'll probably release a lot of stuff. Your body will be processing it for you. Okay, so that's an amazing exercise to do on your manifesting love journey. All right. Cool. So then we need to take back control and that empowerment. We need to recognize again that quantum, so it all comes back to that quantum theory. We have the power to change our lives. This is true empowerment. It's not about the rah, yeah, girl, you can do it, go for it. That's part of it, but really deeply understanding that concept that I introduced at the beginning of true responsibility for your life. That's that true empowerment. Okay. That also leads to hope. That opens up a new level of frequency. So we're at the level of courage where we've taken actions, we've taken responsibility. That starts to come to hope. right? That's raising your frequency bit by bit. That is getting unstuck, getting onto that pathway towards love. Okay. That hope frequency allows so much more. You start to be able to imagine, you start to dream, daydream. That's really cool. It's a very feminine, it's a very childlike, playful energy, right? That is where we create that imagination. A lot of us get so stuck in, I've got to do this way, I've got to follow this process. We've lost our ability to imagine. So that's why I also recommend another book called The Artist's Way. That's a great way to bring back your creativity. That was a book written for screenwriters, actors, people in the creative field, but you can absolutely read it. And it has some really good exercises about taking yourself on dates as well and journaling so that you can bring back that creativity because it will start flowing. It's just a muscle that needs to be activated. Okay. All right. So the next part of your manifesting journey, it's actually, so what we talked about, the garden, we're weeding our garden, we're making it fertile. We need to know what kind of plants we're going to put into our garden now. So it's a bit of the design, it's a bit of the creation, where I'm sure we all love designing and creating beautiful things, environments for ourselves. So we need to create this new program. So what I call the subconscious program that needs to get rewired. It's like a computer system that needs to get upgraded. This is a major key. This is a part that tends to get skipped or gets overdone in manifesting processes, where all the other steps are skipped and then you get to this one, or you skip this step, but you've done the other part and then you get stuck in those other, in therapy for years and years because you don't have this creative process to bring you forwards. That's what coaching is about, bringing you forwards. And the therapy is about releasing the past. Okay. So what does you actually want? You may already have this amazing checklist, but when you're doing this checklist from your higher self, this identity that already has what you want, those wants may be different. At this point in time, your wants may be just survival based, a checklist of he's got to have an adequate job, he's got to be emotionally available, he's got to be this and that. But when you step into that identity shift that's happened in that previous step of that letting go, we start to create, what kind of identity are we? What kind of woman are we that wants this relationship? And creating from that step rather than creating from the current self, that is a massive step. Okay. Then we want to strengthen our intuition. And my partner's got this amazing game that he plays with companies of increasing your intuition. And it's simply just flipping a coin. So flipping a coin where you get the result, you go heads or tails, and then you go, okay, it's heads. But it's not about the actual results. It's how you feel about that result. How does your intuition react or come through to you based on a potential decision that you're going to make? And this is a really helpful one that's going to help you strengthen that intuition, being able to get back into your wisdom and knowing. That's that feminine energy as well. The difference between knowing and wisdom, or knowledge, sorry, and wisdom. Knowledge can just be theory and it's not actually embodied. But wisdom is really that information embodied. It's the spiritual aspect embodied. It's the feelings and connection and integration between your body and your external world. That's knowledge. Okay. What else? Okay. So then the last step of your manifesting journey, it needs to be about receiving. Now, this is the feminine energy, and a lot of my high achieving, empowered women out there, independent, strong women out there may find this part the most challenging. And this is your breakthrough. Whatever's going to be most challenging for you is going to be your breakthrough. Okay. Okay. So one of the things we need to really understand as well, and this is one of some of my students ask me about, is how do I do this? Right. And we're very much stuck in this how to. Remember that this whole process, and because we are part of the world, we are one with the universe, we are one with everyone. We need to allow for co-creation. You're not meant to do everything by yourself. That's why are we existing in a world with like billions of people otherwise, right? So this idea of receiving in this feminine energy is to believe and trust in the co-creation with universe and the quantum. right? So this is allowing for coincidences to happen. This is allowing for synchronicity and these downloads, intuitive information to come through. So putting yourself in a place for these things to happen, that's all you need to do to receive. Just sitting at home being in a sad state, that's not going to help you, right? That's not in the receiving mode. That's not the feminine. So embodying your gifts, your passions, enjoying life. These may all seem cliche, but this is really how we receive. Because when you're out there in the world being authentically aligned to yourself, this is when you're able to create these coincidences, to meet the right people that all of a sudden give you a message to do this. The reason why I moved to Spain was firstly, my intuition said, oh, maybe I've traveled the world. I've moved back to Sydney. Now, what's my next step? And intuitively it came to maybe I should move overseas. I've never lived abroad for a longer period of time. I did 12 cities in 12 months around Latin America and Europe. It was amazing. And I was like, and a messenger came in to say Barcelona had these digital nomad visas. At the time, I had a freelance business as an industrial designer working in product design and manufacturing. And that was a clue. And I insight that came to me that was like, oh, okay, Barcelona. And following that insight, you just never know, right? When you follow those insights, you are on the path, as I say, your soul path towards receiving your soulmate. And following that, and if I hadn't followed that, I don't know if I would have met Raf, because that's where we met. We met in Barcelona, where I held my book club. Okay, so all these amazing synchronicities and coincidences, right? And that's pretty much the process. And you don't need to do your affirmations till you're blue in the face and force yourself to believe something that doesn't sit with you and does not align with you. Yes, you need to back yourself up by believing in your manifestation, letting it go and saying, cool, I've done my work, universe. Thank you. Thanks very much. I really look forward to receiving that. And I'd love it to be in a certain time frame or whenever it's meant to be. I'm super grateful. Gratitude, right? You're in this state of, cool, I've done this. I'm not attached. I'm in that vibration now that you're in that vibration of gratitude. And to be in love with yourself and the joyfulness of your own life that you've identified in this process of manifesting how amazing your life actually is, right? So this process itself is not just about requesting for, but it's also giving you the opportunity to elevate your vibration, being in the best space of your life. And as part of your journey, that's when you're attracting your soulmate, because that's when that vibration level is already high. You're making these moves on your soul path. Your ability to attract the right vibrations is magnetized and is just elevated. So, when you're following these kind of steps, this has the capacity to bring that quantum level into your life and really embody and integrate it into your life. Okay, so this has been a bit of a long episode, but I hope you've gotten a lot of value out of it. This is something I've really felt called to speak about right now. And so if you want to learn more, I definitely have a free masterclass that you can check out. And I'm offering a session with me as well, one-to-one session. So I don't normally do a lot of one-to-ones anymore. But if you want to do a one-to-one session, I have a ability to book in a session with me there through my masterclass. If you're really invested and you really want to get into this manifesting process in the way that I've described it, you can definitely check out my own online program. It's called Manifest Love. It has all these steps that I've just talked about. You can go ahead and do them on your own. I'm not sure if I will offer a coaching program around that, but if you get the program, do email me and let me know if you're interested in working with me to bring this to life. But everything that I've just mentioned is in that program. So you can absolutely do everything there and get the results as well. Lots of women who've taken my program have met their partners within a couple of months. I don't like to guarantee that because it seems to be quite off-putting. A lot of you want to just do your own work on your own journey and then be able to attract at the time that you're ready or that when universe decides that it's ready. Okay, so I'll put all those links in the notes below. Hopefully, this has been really interesting for you. I really discovered that my passion and my purpose, my sole purpose, really is bringing that quantum world into humanity in a very easy to understand and implementable way. So, hopefully, that's helped you. And make sure you subscribe to this channel. It really helps me to spread the word. Check out my website as well and all the cool free stuff that I have available. And yeah, looking forward to working with you if you're ready. And I'll see you next time. See you later.